Mr. Harrison, what is the possibility that you and the rest of the Beatles will once again join together and become the Beatles again?
It's a very slim possibility at the moment. It's very slim. Everybody's enjoying being individuals, you know. I mean, we're boxed up together for 10 years, you know. And personally, I'm enjoying playing with this band, you know. The band I've got on tour.
You said in your bio that 64, meeting the Beatles was one of the biggest influences in your life. 74, you asked the same question. You said leaving the Beatles.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, biggest break in career in '63 was getting in the Beatles. The biggest break, in retrospect, since then was getting out of them.
George, what's your relationship now with John and Paul?
It's very good, actually. It's very good.
You see them a lot?
I haven't seen John because he's been in the States, although I spoke to him quite a lot on the telephone, and he sounds to me like he's in great shape. It's as if we've gone right round a cycle and we're back at the beginning again. I just met Paul recently, and he's, you know, everybody's really very friendly. But it doesn't really mean we're going to form a band.
Are you ever amazed at how much the Beatles still mean to people today? Does that shock you?
Not really.
But what do you look at as?
I mean, it's nice, you know. I mean, I realise the Beatles did fill a space in the '60s, and all the people who the Beatles meant something to have all grown up there. And it's, you know, it's like with anything, you know, that you grow up with it and you get attached to it. I mean, that's one of the problems in our lives, is becoming too attached to things. But I understand the Beatles, you know, in many ways did nice things, and, you know, it's just appreciated that people still like them. It's the problem comes when they want to live in the past, you know, and they want to hold on to something, and people are afraid of change.
Who are some of the contemporary artists that you admire most in music today?
In music? There's so many. I mean,
A few of your favorites.
Smokey Robinson. I am madly in love with Smokey Robinson, you know, from the old Miracles.
A great loving soul that played an important part in the
Pardon?
Everybody seems to have had a great loving soul. A lot of musicians did.
Yeah, I mean, when the Beatles first came here, everybody's amazed that we all liked Tamla Motown, which was at that time a relatively new company. But Smokey, I like Smokey. I like, there's so many of them, you know, but I mean, just to try and pick one or two, Smokey Robinson is my favourite. I like, you know, like Dickie Betts. I like, there's a lot of guitar players like Ry Cooder, I think, sensational. And I hope Warner Brothers will try and sell a few more of his albums.
What about the big groups like the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, the Stones, you know, they're fine, you know, nice. I like the Stones. I think variety's the spice of life.
Are you involved in any serious negotiations to get the Beatles back together for one night?
No, you've been reading Rolling Stone.
What did you think of that article and about the money involved?
I thought that the 50 million for one shot, after reading that, I was a bit disappointed at Bill Graham saying he could make us 4 million, especially as Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young made 8. I mean, I'm sure we could make more than that. But I mean, the point is that, you know, it's all a fantasy, the idea of putting the Beatles together again, you know? I mean, the time we'll do that. If we ever do that, I tell you, the reason will be because everybody's broke. There's more chance that we do it because we're broke. You know, we got to the point, it's taken me years after being out of the Beatles to be able to play with other musicians because we were so isolated together. It became very difficult playing the same old tunes day in, day out. And since I made All Things Must Pass, it was just so nice for me to be able to play with other musicians. And having played with other musicians, I don't think the Beatles are that good. I mean, they're great. I mean, I think they're fine, you know, they're fine. I mean, Ringo's got the best backbeat I've ever heard. There's him and Levon Helm from the band. They're the only two drummers who, like, play. They don't think technically, they just hold the stick, they just play. And Ringo will play a great backbeat 24 hours a day. He hates drum solos. I mean, Paul is a fine bass player. He was a bit overpowering at times, and John, you know, has gone through all his scene, but he feels to me as though he's come back around, and we're all at the point. I mean, to tell you the truth, I'd join a band with John Lennon any day, but I couldn't join a band with Paul McCartney. But that's nothing personal, it's just from a musical point of view, you know?
George,
Yeah?
would you consider one of the one-night reunions of the Beatles or televised all over the world as a benefit?
It depends who the benefit's for and how you get. I mean, I found through Bangladesh it's harder to give something away. It's very difficult. In fact, at this moment, there's still a couple of $1 million held in an escrow account until Washington decides whether to tax me on it or not. And we've already given away a lot of the money. But it's more difficult to give something away than it is to keep it. So, I mean, that would depend on the benefit, who it's for. And, you know, what assurances I have of the money getting there, because that's a problem. I could generate money, but it's a different thing trying to get it there, because I don't have time to get involved with going around there distributing chapatis to everybody.
So it is conceivable that you would, if it was agreeable with the other Beatles, more or less use the past fame of the Beatles more or less to generate some money for charity.
Well, if you're a promoter, I'd say no. I mean, I wouldn't rule anything out in life, you know. I mean, it's amazing now, you know, it doesn't, people think you plan it all. We don't plan anything, you know. It's all the mercy of the Lord, and I'm sorry to keep talking about the Lord to you all, but He is there. I have experienced something in my life, and I know He's there.
What's your attitude on drugs now,
Drugs? Got any? No, I mean, you know, what drugs? You know, aspirins, or what are you talking about? I mean, I think it's awful when it ruins people.
George?
But I mean, you know, it's the same as it was 10 years ago. You know, what do you define as a drug and what isn't? Like, is whiskey? You know, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I don't want to advocate it at all because it's so difficult to get into America, you know. Just certain things happened in my life which left me thinking, what's it all about, Alfie? And then I just remembered somewhere Jesus said, knock and the door will be open, and I said, hello, hello, and, you know, all kinds of things started opening. But it's very difficult. I mean, that's the one problem which has been there since time immemorial, you know, and will always be there, you know, whether there's a God, and if so. But I mean, I had some great influences. I don't know if you've ever heard of Swami Vivekananda. He was the first Indian Swami who came to America in 1800s, and he said, first thing I ever read, he said, each soul is potentially divine, whereas, I mean, I've been taught as a Christian that Christ, the only Son of God, and don't expect to see him because we nailed him up 2,000 years ago and he's dead. Whereas from the Hindu point of view, it was like each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest the divinity. And then it says, and here's how you do it. I mean, yoga, the word yoga means union, and the union is supposedly to between the mind, the body, and the spirit. And yoga isn't lying on nails or just standing on your head. I mean, there's all various forms of yoga, and they're all branches on one big tree. And the Lord or God has got a million names, whether you call him Buddha, Allah, Krishna, Jesus, whatever you want to call him. It doesn't matter as long as you call him. Jesus is on the main line, tell him what you want. But it is that thing, he said, knock and the door will be opened. But I mean, everybody's, nobody tries anything. In fact, going back to self-realization, Yogananda's guru, who was called Sri Yukteswar, he said he found no separation between man and God save in man's spiritual unadventurousness. And that's the thing, that's the catch. Everybody's so unadventurous. We're also conditioned, and our consciousness has been so polluted with material energy that it's hard to try and pull it all away in order to reveal our true nature. Because self-realization and God-realization is the same thing. You know, it's like every one of us has within us a drop of that ocean. And we have the same qualities as God, just like a drop of the ocean has the same qualities as the whole ocean. Each one of us has that potential. And it's really, everybody's looking for something, but we are it. You know, it's right there within ourselves. All we have to do is try and slow down the pollution of our senses and of our consciousness and try and unveil that which is already, you know. We don't have to look anywhere, it's right there within ourselves. Jai Shri Krishna. Maharishi, I have really a lot of respect for him, because in retrospect all he ever did for me was give me help. He plugged me into a method of being able to contact that reservoir of energy which is within us all, which I'm talking about, which is called, whatever you want to call it, it's called pure consciousness. It's like he showed me how to reach that, and I experienced it, but it's an experience, you know. Everything else is just words, but to go beyond the intellect, I mean, that is an experience which you have to have in order to know.
This will be the last question.
Can I just ask you what the shirt that you're wearing, again for women, I see what that is.
The sweatshirt.
Yes.
It's a horse with 7 heads.
What is a what?
A horse, and it's got 7 heads.
Yes, any significance at all?
Only 7 heads is better than 1. Is that it? If that's it, thank you all for coming. God bless you.